Hi, I'm Katie, homeschooling the heat. I am a mom of 4 from ages 3 to 21, and I want to give you a quick review of Gather Round Government. So what is Gather Round? It has gotten a ton of buzz, I guess is the word, in homeschooling circles. You're seeing tons of videos about it, a lot of word of mouth, and it's a really new curriculum. It's only been around for a year, so that's kind of unusual for it to be this big a thing, I think, when there's so many offerings out there. What Gather Round is a program of unit studies. So you pick and choose from various units throughout the year. Each one has 20 lessons, and that can last you anywhere from a month to 2 months. It just depends on how many lessons you do a week. We tend to spread it out a little bit more because we like to add things in as far as videos, games, activities, books, field trips, etc. when we do our units. This is a mini unit, the American government one, so it's a little bit different in that instead of incorporating all your subjects, it's mostly just social studies. But that worked out well for us. We started it over this summer as kind of our light summer school type stuff, and now we're just continuing it into the school year, 2 lessons a week, and working it in with our other subjects. When we finish, we're going to probably get the North America unit study and use that plus some 50 states resources and American history resources, and kind of create an entire North America plus United States focused unit for the year. So that's my plan anyway. But for right now, I'm just going to show you the government one, and let me show you what we've got. Gather Round has gotten really popular because of its family style learning, where you teach from one teacher guide, and then you have up to 5 different workbook levels depending on the ages of your children. I have the pre-reader, I have the early reader, and the upper elementary to show you. And I'm also going to show you some of the resources that we use to go with it to flesh it out and just make it more fun, because that's really the beauty of unit studies and Gather Round in particular, is you can customize it to your family. I'll also link to some videos that we've used and just give you an idea of how we turn this into family learning. So the Gather Round Teacher Guide is the main textbook, for lack of a better term, for Gather Round. So this is the table of contents. There are 20 lessons, just like in all their other units. Because this is a mini unit and not one of their regular unit studies, everything corresponds to the topic. It is just social studies. It is just government. There isn't additional language arts or art or science woven in. So this is something that's just going to cover the one topic, unlike the regular unit studies. So there are 20 lessons. The table of contents lays them out, everything from the origins of government and types of government to important documents in the United States like the Constitution and the Declaration, the Founding Fathers, ratification, civil rights, the branches of government, how the court system works, how elections work, what political parties are, different interest groups. There's a lesson on media and how that influences our government and why it's important, state and local governments, and then civic duty and participation. So this is a lesson. This is lesson 6. This one's on the ratification of the Constitution. So there'll be a prayer, which is actually really nice. It's short. It refers to the lesson material and also to how it applies to your child's life or your family's life. So you start with the prayer, then there's a quote from a founding father or a president, and then it gets into the actual information. There's headings, so you can do a little bit at a time if you have younger children and you need to kind of break it up. You can also paraphrase some of the material for younger kids. We do that sometimes. And then at the end of each lesson, there's going to be either information on one of the founding fathers, or there's going to be information about a landmark. And it does come with these really neat cards. I cut them out and laminated them, that are kind of little flashcards. We don't use them as flashcards as much as we just hold them up and talk about them for each unit. And they're beautifully illustrated. So those are the founding fathers, and the landmarks don't have the cards, but you can always find information on them in an atlas. We found YouTube videos to walk through some of the buildings that they talked about. So that's great. That's the structure of the lesson in the teacher guide. I did print this and bind it with a Pro-Click binding system, and I have a video on that as well. So that's the pre-reader. I just put in coloring pages. There's a little bit of basic map work and what city they live in. There's some information about like what's the same and different of past and present. It's just really the very basics. There's also a little mini book that they get to make. Now I get these little stickers that you can put on here, and that way I can store the flashcards and the mini books and things like that right in their notebook. So the next level up is early reader, and I do have a child using this one. So again, there'll be a table of contents in the beginning. They do have a book log in here, which I did not print out because we're not using that right now. We use something different, but there is a book log that's really nice that goes with it. And then there's connect the pictures or various other activities. This one's a timeline activity. And then for each lesson, they'll do this notebooking page where they will dictate to you, or narrate to you rather, something that they learned. You'll write it for them, and then they copy it in their best handwriting. And every now and then there'll be a review page where they're matching up the terminology and the definition. They list which lessons these come from. We actually save it until we do all 4 lessons. This one's for my older daughter. There's some really nice coloring pages in here. A scope and sequence. Those are in every level to show you what they're going to cover. As you can see, the majority of it is the social studies, not science. There's a little bit of language arts because of the dictation and narration and copy work. But for the most part, this is just a social studies unit. So she's also going to have a notebooking page for each lesson. She's going to answer a question, work on some terminology and vocabulary, take notes, and then write a sentence or two about what she learned. She has a review page as well, but instead of matching, she actually can write the definitions in the back. So there's an appendix to do that. She has a timeline as well. They're, in this unit, making their own country. Each unit has a broader project that goes across all 20 lessons, and in this one, they're making their own country. This page, they did a map of it. Later, they described what the type of government they would have, who would have the different positions, whether they have a Congress or a parliament. So here it talks about what kind of government will you have, who will enforce the laws, who will determine if laws are fair, and if someone broke the law, you have a court or something else. There's a unit on civil rights, which I really appreciated. Not a lot of government curricula seem to have that. And they got to make their own protest signs. They learned the difference between discrimination, prejudice, and racism, which honestly I wasn't even really clear on. So that was fantastic. And then they have oral narration where they do a review of what they've learned. So the best part of doing a unit study is being able to add in what works for your family and add in fun things to kind of bring it to life. So one of those things was this Washington, D.C. floor puzzle. Since we're learning about the government of the United States, it seemed relevant to bring in the capital of the country and the different buildings and monuments that are there in this puzzle. You can see on the back here, it has all sorts of information. So when you put it together, they're learning about the National Mall, they're learning about the museums, all sorts of different things. So they had fun with that. For the toddler, so Goodnight Washington, D.C. And again, this just shows the different things in Washington, like the Library of Congress, the Treasury, the monuments, the museums. So my 3-year-old daughter really liked that. 1 vote, 2 votes, I vote, you vote, Dr. Seuss style, and actually incredibly informative as far as elections go. So it talked about the Constitution, it talked about voting rights, when people got the right to vote, different types of people. It went into political parties a little bit, and how those work, rallies, and then election day itself. So that was super informative. This one, my daughter has been reading on her own. My 10-year-old, she reads this. She does a little bit of nonfiction reading every day as part of her schoolwork, and she really liked this. I've had this on my shelf forever. I don't even know where I got it. If I can find an Amazon link, I will link it below. This is an illustrated timeline of US presidents, and I like, again, that it's got big text for younger readers. It's got lots of neat illustrations, lots of fun facts. My daughter's gonna be reading this one as part of her nonfiction reading. Hail to the Chief. This one has fun facts and activities about the presidents and some of the first ladies. And it has things like crossword puzzles, drawing, decorate the White House, word scrambles, word searches, some map work, all sorts of different activities. So she's just going to be doing 1 page a day throughout the year on Fridays. We do kind of our fun Friday, easier schoolwork. And we'll tie it into our 50 states and US history unit that we're doing after government. So this will start with our government unit, and then we can just keep going throughout the year as we move into other US history topics. And then this is a lap book that I ordered. We haven't even opened it yet. I think what we're gonna do is use it as a review when we finish the unit. And we haven't done lap books before, but it looks kind of fun. I think I got this off Rainbow Resource. So it says grades 3 to 6, and I have a 3rd grader and a 5th grader. And finally, just for fun, I got these little figurines. They're the Toobs, Toobs. And there's 2 sets here. One was the monuments, which we really like better. Symbols and monuments with the Liberty Bell and such. And then the other is presidential heads, busts as it were. And they're pretty neat too, but the kids haven't been as interested in them. They've really played a lot with these. You've got the Hoover Dam and all sorts of fun stuff. So they've been using those in their play and actually learning to identify the different ones. So that's been really fun. If you're looking for a government unit, I definitely like this one. We also looked at the free one that's put out by Sunlight, but I wasn't impressed. This one's definitely got a ton of information. It is worth the price. And we're really enjoying it. We're doing 2 lessons a week, and that's gonna take us through up to the election. And then we have time to add in all those goodies I was talking about as far as videos, other books, games, etc. So if you have some idea of things that we could add into it, since we're not done with it yet, I'd really love to hear them. Just put it in the comments below.